And joining us right now on the Raw the Orthopedics Cats line, our old friend, Mr. Marshall Harris, joins us. What's going on there, Marshall?
Not much, man. Just trying to, live the dream like Mark Farzetta, but some of us just aren't able,
It's like they said about Kramer on Seinfeld. You should plunk down $2,000 just to live like me for a week. That's a fantasy camp. Anyway,
that's a bad dream, but yes, fantasy camp is a thing.
Horrendous. Dream bigger, kids. Marshall, I just want to get this out of the way because I thought it was amazing. So we have Clay Harbor on yesterday, and he drops the name of your podcast because you're obviously out there in CBS Chicago. For those that don't know, first off, shame on you. Second, here's where you can follow Marshall on Twitter, of course, there at M Harris on Air.
Yeah.
So you have had wonderful names of podcasts in the past, most notably Measured Takes. Measured Takes was my favorite. I believe that was you and Amy Fadul, was it not?
Yes, it was. Our coworker Amy Fadul, yes.
And then you come out with Bare Minimum, and I'm like, now that's a Marshall Harris line, and that's a Marshall Harris title. And Clay's like, oh yeah, and I do that with Marshall Harris. And I'm like, what the hell? So here you are, my friend, coming on the show to talk a little Eagles Bears, and I got to talk a little Joel Embiid with you as well. I hope you don't mind.
That's okay. Everybody wants to talk Joel at some point, and Sixers. I mean, Joel said the Sixers fans want him traded, but I don't know if he was kidding or not. So I can't wait to get further context on those comments.
Okay, well, here they are for you, because I wanted to get this to you first, because we'll get to Eagles Bears in a second here. This is him with Jake Fisher at Yahoo Sports. He said, this was the context of the trade not working out with James Harden and Doc Rivers not doing his job and all that. So he says, I don't know, Embiid said, shrugging, Sixers fans, they want to trade me. And then Fisher says, you don't believe that, to which Embiid replies, I do believe that. They want me traded. I don't take it seriously either. I think Joel Embiid is the greatest troll ever to troll. What do you make of the comments?
As a guy who is also a professional troll, I admire Joel's ability to capture the minds, the hearts, and the emotions of millions out there. I think he's just saying, it's Philadelphia, man. Everybody, they want to trade you, Mark. They wanted to trade me. I'm traded away. Depending on the day of the week, depending on what have you done for me lately. That's the nature of being in a city that is captivated by fandom. And the word fanatics, it starts with the root word of fan, and they are fanatical about their sports here in Philadelphia, which, as I always tell people, like, what's it like living in Philadelphia? Philly is a city that if you love it, it loves you back. And you know what? That's true unless you're a professional athlete representing the city. And if you don't win, they're not going to love you. Mm-hmm. As long as you give your hardest, they'll be okay with you. But eventually, you got to churn out a winner, or else you're going to end up like everybody else in Philadelphia sports history who was great, but not ultimately beloved because you did not win a championship. I mean, Allen Iverson is probably the best case of a guy who did not win a championship, but still to this day feels all the love. Mm-hmm. It's just like, what have you done for us, though? Allen Iverson, he didn't win a championship, but he did lay his body on the line game in, game out for the Philadelphia fans.
Every single day, amongst the trees, as Mark Zumoff would say, and hit the ground every single time. All right. So I got to be honest, and I'm sorry, I didn't know this ahead of time, but I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to catch up with you. I knew you did the podcast with Clay, and I wanted to just get your opinion on everything Bears Eagles. So I'm reading some of your takes, and I'm scrolling through your Twitter, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. Far from measured, my friend. Far from measured. You think the Eagles could be heading to a certain doom here in Chicago.
You know what? Doom is not the right word, okay? Here's the thing. Win or lose versus Chicago, the Eagles are going to the playoffs and they're going to have a run and they could win the Super Bowl, But last time I checked, they're not the 72 Dolphins, right? They can lose a game, correct?
Or two, yes.
Or two. And that's kind of the point, I talk to people all the time and I'm like, well, they think I'm crazy, right? Do you have to drug test in Chicago to get a job there? All the comments, I'm like, I'm sorry. Please raise your hand if you had before the game the Eagles losing to the Washington Commanders.
Right.
No one's raising their hands when I ask that question, by the way.
Nope.
And so what I need people to understand is this has all the makings of a game that the Eagles could lose. So I'm going to lay it out for you very simply, Mark. Classic trap game, just because it's between two division rivals, the Giants, and of course the game, the one against the team that's got Philadelphia and its fans all riled up, whether Micah Parsons is talking or not, because people are saying, oh, they have a better chance to win the Super Bowl than the Eagles. And the Eagles are like, excuse me, don't we already have a win in the ledger against the Cowboys? Aren't we 1-0 against the Cowboys? So let's just talk about Christmas Eve is what everyone is focused on. We can agree on that, correct, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, of course.
Okay, the Bears are 3-10, right? So it's easy to say that team's 3-10 will beat them going away, right? If you haven't watched the Bears this season, remember Justin Fields is Jalen Hurts last year, but better. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. People at the beginning of last season questioned Jalen Hurts' ability, whether he's really a franchise quarterback, whether the Eagles really should have put, their future in him, correct? Is anyone asking that right now, Mark?
About Jalen Hurts? Absolutely not.
So you look at Justin Fields' stats, put them side by side with Jalen Hurts, you're like, okay, I see all the comparisons here. In fact, I'd argue Justin Fields has been a much more explosive player with his legs than Jalen Hurts, and he's got less help around him than even Jalen Hurts did last year before A.J. Brown was in existence, because he had, I believe, Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz for a portion of that season, and he had Devontae Smith, correct?
Absolutely.
Can you name a Bears receiver? And yet, they've lost 10 games, 6 straight, 9 of their last 10, with Justin Fields having them in position to win the game in 7 of those 10 games. I want to be very clear on that. In the last 2 minutes, they had a chance to win 7 of those 10 games and simply just came up short. Here's why that's important. There's this thing. It's called the bye week. Do you remember what week the Eagles had their bye?
Off the top of my head, no, I don't. Off the top of my head.
You know why? Because it's been a while, right?
It's been a minute. Yes, sir.
The Bears didn't have their bye week until week 13, a.k.a. last week.
Mm-hmm.
What can the bye week do for a team?
Rest, rejuvenate.
It can. All that is true. The last 2 games, the Bears have gone out there without 2 of their starting defensive backs who are now back and good and out of concussion protocol. Rookie defensive backs, Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. I don't know if you're familiar. When you get to be this deep in the season, they don't look at your rookies really as being rookies anymore, more like early sophomores, because they've got now NFL playing experience. They know what it's like. That's what the Bears have on what's been an overly porous defense. They've gotten rid of a couple of pieces, and people were like, but they got rid of some of their best players. You tell me, is Robert Quinn one of their best players?
Robert Quinn for the Eagles? No, he's on IR.
Okay, and what did he do before he was on IR for the Eagles?
I believe he did nothing. He did nothing.
Okay. Roquan Smith is gone. They've plugged in this guy who you'll hear his name a lot. His name's Jack Sanborn, an undrafted free agent linebacker. You've seen guys who weren't top draft picks go on to have great careers as middle linebackers, correct? What's the guy who runs your defense's name in the middle?
That'd be TJ Edwards.
Oh, okay. Tell me about his where he was drafted.
It was not very high. I don't believe he was drafted.
That is my point. You start adding up all these factors, start adding up the fact that the Bears, they score points. No one's been able to stop Justin Fields and his team from scoring points. I understand the Bears very well balanced, the highest scoring offense in all the land. They have a top 5 defense. I just think the conditions are going to be perfect where the Bears, coming off that bye week, are going to feel like, okay, we're older, we're mature, we're more wise. You might think after a 6-game losing streak, they're not as hungry. But here's the thing. It's a bunch of young guys trying to get out tape. Do you remember those Sixers teams from back in the day? They had a nickname, the same as your superstar MVP candidate.
But the process?
The process Sixers. That's what they were called. They had guys who would go out there, play hard, not good enough to win games, mind you. They went 10-72. I know about that team personally up front, and personal as a guy who hosted pre-game and post-game shows for those Sixers. Mm-hmm. Those guys didn't stop playing hard. They just weren't good enough. The Bears actually have some guys who are good enough, and they're still playing hard. Now, their front 4, still not very good, but they can do enough, as they have the past 7 out of 10 losses, to keep them close and within striking distance. The question will be, Justin Fields, can he make something happen late? That's all I'm saying. Okay. I'm not saying that they're a slam dunk to win this game. I'm just putting the Bears and the Eagles fans on upset alert, upset alert coming off the bye.
All right. A follow-up question, Marshall. Why now do you hate Philadelphia? I know. I'm kidding.
I love Philadelphia. Philadelphia is my favorite city I've ever lived in. I'm just saying, Would it be the worst thing if the Bears got beat by the Eagles got beat by the Bears? It wouldn't be the worst thing. It'd be like, oh, another wake-up call. The Commanders game was a wake-up call, correct?
Absolutely. That's what we all labeled it, to make ourselves sleep at night. Absolutely.
Okay, so you still got a chance to do whatever it is you want to do this season.
Well, here's where I'm right on the same page with you, and this is how I believe the game's going to play out. I do have a little bit more confidence that the Eagles are going to win this game, and you're saying that you wouldn't be shocked if the Bears had come away with the victory. Here's why I, too, would not be shocked, and it comes down to something very simple. When you talk about that Commanders game, what did the Commanders do in that game? They ran the ball, and they kept drives going. And that's something that Justin Fields can certainly do, especially on third down. And what I've already told my audience is this: when you get to 3rd and 6, when you get to 3rd and 7, I just have this feeling we're going to be smacking the bar or smacking our desks if you're working while you're covering the game and you're watching it and you're unfolding. It's all unfolding. It's at 3rd and 7. Bang, Justin Fields run for a first down. Dang it. And you're going to be smacking the desk or smacking the bar or smacking your couch in frustration of Justin Fields extending another drive. And that, I think, is the way the Bears, if they do in fact pull this off, that's how I think they pull it off.
I also want to remind people that that may not have seen Justin Fields and be like, oh, he's just like Jalen Hurts. He's actually a much more explosive player in terms of his legs than Jalen Hurts. Here's the problem with Justin Fields. 3 or 4 weeks ago, he said, oh, man, my legs, they're dead. They're tired. And he just basically I can't be running as much. And he would still rip off a 50-yard plus touchdown run the following week. Now he's actually had time for his legs to heal and get better. So as long as he's healthy, because he was sick and missed the first day of practice, as long as he's over his illness, look for him to have fresh legs. And that is scary. And his fresh legs are a different type of I don't just take off at first glance. He's still going to sit back in the pocket, look to dance around, make some things happen. And what happens when he does that is they're very much aware that he can use his legs. And so he'll do that for 5 seconds or 6 seconds. Next thing you know, he's throwing a ball down the field and somebody's just wide open because their man left them. That's what happens with Justin Fields back there.
All right. No, so one of the reasons I do think the Eagles are going to win this game, and it's not going to be close. It might be frustrating at times, but I think the Eagles are going to win by more than a touchdown and a half there. But right now, I look at this game and I say the sack difference is going to be a huge difference in this game because Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, I know Justin Fields is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. Well, not that far behind him is Jalen Hurts. The only difference is the Eagles are one of the best. The Eagles, as a matter of fact, lead the league in sacks. Bears don't get to the quarterback. So that could be a huge discrepancy in this game. Do you think that'll be a key factor in this game?
It'll be a huge factor in this game. I think it's going to come down to really the turnover margin. If people are like, well, Jalen Hurts, he doesn't throw interceptions. He's got the best interception percentage in all the league. I just say he's due. Okay? Look, Matt Eberflus, defensive-minded head coach. He's got his thing, the hits principle. He's just trying to create havoc, cause turnovers. I told you the front four is not good for the Bears. However you want to rotate those guys in, they are not good. But I do think, they could call up some blitzes. They could do some different things to try to stop them. And I think, like you said before, the most important thing is if they can shorten the number of possessions that both teams have by running the football. The Bears as a team lead the NFL in rushing, and it's a bullet. So I think that's can you run the ball or can you not? And I think they will be able to run the football. It's just a matter of, can you get some stops? They're not going to stop the Eagles from scoring, but can you get some stops?
Yeah, and look, the big thing in the Commanders game as well was turnovers, and sometimes you just can't predict those. Do you have an official prediction out there? Do you have a score? Do you have a final for this game?
I haven't put a number out there, but I can whip something up for you and your audience real quick if you would like.
Please step in the kitchen by all means. Yes,
I'm gonna say 31-30 Bears.
I knew it. I knew that was coming. And then last question for you here. What is a Christmas song? What is a holiday song that you honestly cannot get sick of hearing?
That I honestly cannot get sick of hearing.
People always say, they're on my nerves by this point. The Christmas comment, all that stuff. Is there a song that you just can't get sick of hearing? When you walk in a store or you go wherever and the song's on, you're like that song again. Nice. Is there a song that jumps out to you as one you can't stop hearing?
It's probably. Well, there's two songs. Traditionally wise, I'm going to go with This Christmas. This Christmas, caroling through the night. Yeah, I'm a terrible singer.
No, that's beautiful.
But my alternative song, which is probably the real answer, if you will, it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, is performed by DMX. You've heard it, correct?
I have not heard. I have not heard DMX, and I'm a DMX
I need
fan.
you to go to YouTube immediately.
I will go and I will watch it right at the end of this interview, and I will be playing it for myself while I react to your interview on my show live.
Listen to me. That song will give you fresh and new life.
Rudolph by DMX.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
DMX version. You must listen to the.
I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna send it to my buddy Dave.
R.I.P. R.I.P. By the way.
Oh, totally R.I.P. And in the meantime, also I'm gonna send it to my buddy Dave, who when we were studying in suburbia for our exams in 8th grade, we were rocking out DMX as a couple of 12 and 13-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that
all his listening is appropriate for 12 and 13-year-olds, but you know what? Do you? The Burbs is different. Y'all operate on a different scale.
Well, in the Burbs, your parents are in a different wing of the house as you're studying in the basement.
That's fair. They don't necessarily hear what you're listening to. I got you. Didn't have such issues.
Marshall, always great catching up with you, man. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys check out the Bare Minimum podcast with Clay Harbor and Marshall Harris, both friends of the show right there. Marshall, thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying Chi-Town, my friend.
Thanks, Mark, for having me.
Absolutely. Marshall Harris joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line.